Hi, my name is Julian Wolz, and today I'm going to be talking to you about THC and the effects it has on glioblastoma and specifically glioma-like stem cells. So how many of you know anybody who's been affected by cancer? So I'm sure most of you have. So glioblastoma is a very specific type of brain cancer, and I'm going to be discussing that more. I'm also going to be discussing what cannabinoids are, which is what THC is, and I'm also going to tell you how that affects glioblastoma and the current treatments that are going on and the future treatments that are underway. So glioblastoma is a very frequent and it's a very aggressive type of brain cancer. It kills around 80% of the people that are infected with it. And it has two major characteristics. It has, or really three major characteristics, but the two biggest ones are rapid tumor growth, which kind of highly invasive and migratory go along with that because that's what makes it grow, is its invasive and migratory nature. And then also the glioma-like stem cells, the subpopulation of those. And those are very, very, very drug resistant. They're very hard to kill, and those are what make the cancer so aggressive and so hard to get rid of. The current surgeries for it, they can actually go in there and remove it, like surgery, remove what they can, but that's not very effective. They can also use radiation therapy, but again, that's not that effective. The most effective currently is chemotherapy with a drug called temozolomide, but it still has a lot of side effects as chemotherapy does, and this is a very aggressive type of chemotherapy medication, so it has even worse side effects. Extreme nausea, hair loss, everything. So cannabinoids, the two major classes of cannabinoids are CB1 and CB2. So CB1 is where THC falls in, and this is expressed by the CB1 receptor. And these also contain dietary cannabinoids and many, many others. There's over 113 cannabinoids totally expressed by the CB1 and CB2 portions of the two CB1 and CB2 genes. So, and the CB2 is where CBD is actually held. This is encoded by the CB2 receptor. And as shown on the bottom, there's two structures of THC and CBD are very similar. They both have three, those rings are called aromatic rings or benzene rings, and they both also had the little squiggly line on the right-hand side that is called a hydrocarbon chain. They have the same length, one of those. The only difference is they have a couple less carbons and they have one extra hydrogen, is what CBD is, the difference between THC. And it's pretty crazy. That small difference makes a huge difference in the actual effect of what it is, because THC is a very psychoactive compound and CBD is not at all. And that tiny change is what makes the two separate. So how cannabinoids actually affect glioblastoma therapy? So this diagram is a little bit confusing, but I'll try to break it down a little bit. So it's split up into three sections: how it affects tumor growth, how it affects the invasion, and then those stem cells. So I'm going to start with the stem cells and work my way around. So with the stem cells, it actually decreases their self-renewal, which is how fast they replicate from one another, which is very good, which limits the amount that it actually has to get rid of. It also increases autophagy, which is when a cell devours itself, which is very, very good, because this actually gets the cells to devour themselves so that, medication doesn't have to come in and kill it like chemotherapy does, where it just comes in and kills all the cells, not just cancer cells. It actually decreases invasion very a lot. And then its tumor growth, apoptosis on the bottom there, across three different receptors, it increases it, and that is programmed cell death. So it actually, like when a glioblastoma cancer cell, a THC hits it, it actually programs to kill itself, which is very good. Autophagy, as I mentioned earlier, is when it devours itself, so it does that to glioblastoma cells, and it also decreases how long they live and decreases the amount of blood vessels that are around it. That's angiogenesis. Decreases how many blood vessels around it, which also helps because if there's no blood vessels, it can't grow any. So it basically does everything that you would want it to do, and it does. So the current treatment that's going on, this was done in Spain, and they did a couple of different, with rats, they used different concentrations and different ratios of THC and CBD, and then also with just the standard cancer medication, temozolomide. The vehicle would just be temozolomide. That's all that the vehicle is. And then the THC, CBD, and all those show how the different ratios affected the size of the tumor, and those small red dots are those actual glioma-like stem cells. So that 1:1 and 1:5 ratio were saw to be the best ratios of them because they limited the stem cell production, and they also limited the size of the test. And they just injected straight into a rat, just concentrated, very, very concentrated THC. And so from this, they've actually, not from this direct study, but from these knowledge, they've developed some medication. There's in GW Pharmaceuticals in London, there's a current medication that's in a phase 2 clinical trial and there's 4 phases for it to be approved by the FDA. So hopefully that is successful and that can be used. But there's still a lot more research to be done because they need to use such high concentrations of THC, and they need to use so much of it that it becomes actually kind of bad, and it also has adverse side effects. Not as bad as chemotherapy, nowhere near as bad, but nausea, paranoia, and some like bad thoughts. But it's better than chemotherapy in a lot of regards. So today I've told you about what glioblastoma is, how cannabinoids can help it, what cannabinoids actually are, and then what the research is that's currently going on. I've just given you a brief overview. There's much more if you'd like to see. I check out these references that I used. They have lots of information within them. I very briefly just condensed it, but I hope that everybody learns something.